We have a slight change in the agenda from normal. Tonight, we have Larry from the Volunteer Coordinating Committee.
Is your mic on?
It is, and I'm just too far away from it.
Everyone needs to eat your mic.
Yes.
So, you got a napkin. That's what they're here for.
You don't need to sit there, you can just talk about it.
All right, my name is Larry Jackson. I'm on the Volunteer Coordinating Committee for the City of Keizer. And I'm here to thank you all from the City of Keizer, council members, the Volunteer Coordinating Committee.
I'm not supposed to eat them anyway.
Sorry, they can't hear you on TV. I forgot.
Oh, okay. And the citizens of Keizer would like to thank you all for taking the time out of your evenings every month, and probably more than just every month, to help the city of Keizer come to put forth new ideas and better protect our citizens of Keizer. So, and myself as a citizen would like to thank you all for taking the time out of your night. Thank you.
Well, we'd like to thank you too
I
for.
worked all night, all day on
I
my
said,
speech.
you're a heck of a cook.
Well, I appreciate the monster cookies.
Excellent segue.
Yes.
Hold that thought.
So, thank you all, and I appreciate everything you do.
Thank you. And thank you for the cookies. Okay, so next on the agenda will be the approval of the March 2019 meeting.
I have a
minutes.
question,
Yes?
comment. Page 2, committee input, committee member input, second large paragraph, last sentence. We were discussing, and I don't know exactly how this turned out. We were discussing whether or not you could use the left turn lane, like on River Road, for pulling out and stopping, or parking it. I had another one for tonight for you. Parking a truck there, deciding you're going to unload at Arby's. I don't remember. It might have been my opinion, but I don't think it's illegal. I don't know that it's illegal.
I think that last thing, we had difference of opinion
Yes.
along the line, whether you
We
could pull out and
should.
stop, or he's going to tell us what the real thing
Well,
is.
anyway, regarding the minutes, I think that should be struck from the minutes. Or take out somebody's opinion was that it was wrong. I don't care how you phrase it. But it wasn't a fact that it's illegal.
That was the only thing I wanted to address for the minutes, is I want to make sure minutes are reflected
Okay.
correctly. So I wasn't sure if there was a typo in there or not.
I think I might have said it, but I don't remember I said it. It's like it should be illegal.
So for corrections of the minutes, with people pulling into the special left turn lane, they're not allowed to use it as a merge lane, meaning you can't enter it and continue to move as a merge lane. In order to use it correctly, if you are going to use it, it's either you're pulling into it to make a left-hand turn, or if you're exiting a driveway or a parking lot, you can enter it, but you have to enter it and remain stopped immediately. You can't continue to travel. So then as soon as your path is clear, then you immediately move to the adjoining lane, and then you start moving.
That's what some of us thought.
That's exactly how it's
Some of us
supposed to be
didn't
used.
think so, but that's fine. Anyway, how can we adjust the minutes to reflect that?
I got it.
So,
Okay,
and if
fine.
someone didn't understand that, I brought something so they can actually look at subsection 2 in there, so they can see exactly how that's worded in
And I
the
know
statute.
I'm jumping way ahead, but it's appropriate. Can you park a semi in the left turn lane because you want to unload beer at a place that doesn't have a place to park?
So,
I mean, they're parked, two
I-
guys
I
unloading,
already
you know what I'm
exact-
talking
I know
about.
exactly what you're talking about. So sometimes we have to look at what's the lesser of two evils. So we could actually stop on River Road for an immediate, load and unload, which the statute would actually allow that. But then we would be in a north or southbound travel lane that we would be completely stopped at and blocking an immediate travel lane where that center turn lane, so to say, where they're actually doing it. I can think of 0 accounts of any incidences that we've had traffic related Besides inconvenient, somebody having to wait a little bit longer to make a turn. But as
turn.
far as collisions go, we haven't had any as to where if they were in a travel lane, I believe we wouldn't be as lucky. So that's as far as a lesser of evils.
Well, the lesser of it, in my mind, is why don't they use a smaller truck? But that's beside the point.
Yeah, sometimes that's not possible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, so based on that one edit, I think, do we have a motion?
I-
to-
Oh, I had one other
Oh,
comment.
Pat, yes?
So Debbie, I apologize, because this is just a one-word change that I should have emailed to you, but on the end of page 1, refers to ODOT safety project, and I think that would be ODOT maintenance project.
Okay.
Pat, I didn't catch that location. The end of page 1?
The
Down.
next to the last line of page 1.
Are you looking, is this the minutes from last time?
This is from Mark. No, it's not. Sorry.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Okay. All right, so with those two edits, is there a motion to accept the minutes as amended?
Mr. Chair, I move that the minutes of our March meeting be approved with the edits as noted.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. So all in favor of approval of the March 2019 meeting minutes with the edits, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed or abstained? None of either. So full unanimous approval. Okay. Next on the agenda would be the appearance of interested citizens. Not seeing any, so I think we'll breeze through that one. Next would be project reports. First on the list, we'll have Pat.
For the Parkway Path signage, well, I've been out of town most of the time between the last meeting and this meeting, so I don't have an update for that, other than I did contact Jenna Berman at ODOT and ask her to give me an update on what she's found out with her discussions that she was going to do within ODOT to find out what our options are for pursuing the signing and some of the minor access improvements in conjunction with the maintenance project. So hopefully I'll have some information next month.
And do you have anything for the public outreach trash receptacles?
Nope.
Nothing, okay. And again, with you, but this time you have a partner, Wayne, for the bike parking facilities, the assessment tool.
I've got nothing new on that.
On that one, I did circle back and read that bike parking assessment guide that was, I think I distributed to the committee that had been developed in Eugene. And so I think there's some good ideas that we can pursue in there, either through perhaps a city planning policy or code around the appropriate number of bike parking spaces in relation to the student body size at each school. And it also may be something that we want to take up with the person that the school district is hiring for the Safe Routes to School, because it seems like that would be a good issue for them to address at the district level. Kirsch? Yeah.
I have a meeting this next week on moving some of the funds to hire that position. And at least at this point in time, the two schools out in our neck of the woods are going to be Forest Ridge and Cummings for that person. Because the thought was start, like Portland and Eugene have 10 or 12 of these people, but they start at one school area and kind of develop out. And it's, the funding's going to be for 3 years, and they're going to be developing for another 3 years. But in that time, figure out how they can work with the high schools, whatever. kind of on this subject is McNary High School.
Yeah.
And the bike rack. Dan had a Eagle Scout kid that was interested, and so I contacted Eric and the principal at McNary, and he said, we are absolutely still interested in the bike rack, but will not be able to move forward until the bond work is completed. There's simply too many moving parts with this gargantuan project. But he has it on the radar, him and Jeremy Everett, and the district has it, and the projected area is the old area. So it's not a dead issue, it just ain't gonna happen till the other stuff.
I don't know if we should, anybody on this committee feel that we should push on that a little bit? I don't think it really should be an afterthought. It should be developed in conjunction with what they're doing with the school. Because, for instance, that area where the bikes are now is not visible from any,
Well, there's gonna be
windows
enough
and stuff.
changes, and so, but right now, that's where it's gonna be, and it's one area that possibly we can get covered.
that's a positive part of that.
Yeah,
that thought, yeah.
so, because it doesn't, and possibly even getting it caged. So, but that's all,
So as far as Dan's idea for an Eagle project, likely the kid's not going to be able to wait until they can accommodate them at McNary. So maybe that could just be a suggestion for a future Eagle project, but.
what I suggested, and it was just a phone message, was that we have several parks that are still missing adequate biking, including bike racks, including Keizer Rapids. And working with this committee, we could show where they might be and the kind, and get rid of some of those old Nielsen racks that we have laying out by the,
Treacherous. I trip over them. Oh my
But
Yeah.
would it be an Eagle Scout type project to even do the assessment at all the schools, like what Wayne and I were gonna?
I
plan
can't
to-
answer
to
that. I
do?
don't know what their requirements or what have you. But this was just one, wanting to do a bike rack. We've had Eagle Scouts do bike racks in the past, one at Private Hills Park. There's a bike rack there that it was an Eagle Scout project a number of years ago, so.
You recall, does anybody recall if there's a bike rack at the Keizer Rapids Park play area?
No, there is not.
Okay.
There's an old
It's-
Nielsen rack that's laying there.
There's a bike rack there at the big toy, is that what you're
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's an old Nielsen.
it's not.
Okay. Anyway, so that would be, and that's
It-
heavily used, and a lot of people with bikes are showing up, and
That's,
with their kids in a
that's
trailer.
why I suggested Keizer
Yeah.
Parks
So anyway.
for, and there's always private funding for bike racks. If we have a good monster cookie, there's a little bit of money there. Rotary's given money, additional money from here and there, and you know,
So Hirsch, based on what the principal said, is it not necessarily in a bad way, but don't call us, we'll call you when we're ready? Or is it where we can
well,
come to them and say, okay, at this point of the construction, that's where we need to be engaged?
he knows I'm gonna be a nag. I want a decent bike rack at McNary. I've already personally donated, I'm willing to donate $1,000 to the project. So I'm not going to back off.
Yeah.
This is Hirsch's rack.
We'll call it.
You know, it's gonna be blue and white, you know. And I want to work with the, you know, the CTEC Center and really make it a kids thing and stuff. Because the day that I was there and Eric came out, and I have a picture on my phone, which I don't have with me, there were 40 bikes. So nobody can say that bike rack isn't used. Now, right now, I doubt if, you know, with weather, but, you know, And as far as the total traffic problem, I know this committee has heard from people on Newburgh. Granted, bike racks and bike, maybe just 1% or 0.1% improvement, but as part of the total package, I think it should be included. And Eric agrees.
So
So
we'll get
I-
it. Let's stay with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And is there a number, or are they just going to stick with what the code requires? Do they have,
We were talking about being able to park 40 bikes.
because if you see 40 bikes now,
They should
then
be able
there's
to
probably
double
some
that.
latent demand that,
Well, it's how many racks we can get in that particular area. So there's no minimum.
But is that the only entrance that the students can go in? There should be some by each
Well, it's,
point of access that they arrive from the different neighborhoods.
And do you want them visible from the office? And
well, there's going to be some major changes in McNary in its flow. And, you know, we might even get some at the new soccer and baseball fields too.
Thank you. I may have said this last time I was subbing on this committee, but I was down at, I can't remember what high school, but anyway, they had a rack that was for skateboards and scooters, and that seemed like a really cool thing too. Because we have, I see a lot of those. I mean, McNary at least has those big tall lockers that kind of accommodate skateboards, but that could be something to consider as part of this as well, because got a lot of kids using those.
Correct. Yeah, it's just whatever we can get the CTEC Center to
Yeah,
design.
absolutely.
I would
Thank you.
like to add another question is, do we know who the consultant is that is doing the school designs?
Michael
Well, he's the one in charge.
Yeah, Michael Shields is the, kind of the big guy. And he's been involved in my communication on the bike racks. And he's also on this committee for the Safe Routes to School person. And so he knows all the contractors and such. But I can't tell you if it's going to be Pence Kelly, Duncan, or, I don't know.
But we wouldn't know who the construction contractor is, but the design firm is already,
Should be pretty close.
Hired?
Eric would know. I don't know that.
Planning, but
do you remember, Hirsch, in the code, is there specifications on spacing between? Like if you have the staples, how far between, how far away from the building?
For the city of Keizer, there is, the code is that they have to be spaced, adequate spacing.
I mean,
From
that
the door.
exists. It's in this guide, and I'm sure it's in.
Yeah, but it's not
other
per
design
se
guides.
in Keizer code. What we have been able to do is get it, that it's got to be close 50 feet from, and it has to be at least 3 bike racks and things like that. And for McNary, it's obviously, we're going to have more than just, because there's staff too that are riding. And if it's a decent bike storage area, staff, Jeremy's taking him to his classroom, and he said, well, if it's a decent one, and, so just to get rid of one that was designed and built in 1966.
Yeah, I mean, that is the primary goal is to get a substantial modernization of what's there, but I don't think we should lose sight also of looking at what the appropriate location, rack type, number of racks, and more than one location, since we've got, 4 different ways to come onto that school property. So you got people arriving from 4 different ways at least.
Well,
And so-
the flow is going to be different,
Yeah.
so.
And I think, I don't know if it's the time to mention this, but I think somehow our committee needs to be plugged into those discussions on the traffic flow as well, because I looked at what was in the newspaper, and it still seems like they're bringing the cars through a circuitous path right up to the front. If you really wanted to take a stand, you could say that's where the bicycle parking should be, quantity covered bike parking, and if somebody wants to drop off their kid, they can be a little farther away from the front door.
Yeah. My focus is on the bike rack, so
Yeah.
I can't answer some of these other
But,
questions.
but as to, you know, whether you're formally representing our committee in that overall process with the school district, or is there another way or another, you know, what's the timing and the method that we keep ourselves kind of in the loop as these design options move forward?
I'm assuming, I know,
Because, I mean, I guess not just because of interest in biking and encouraging biking to the school, but also as it affects the surrounding neighborhoods and the traffic flow in those neighborhoods also is part of, you know, something that keeps coming
yeah.
up to our
Yeah,
committee. So
yeah.
it seems like we should be involved in weighing in on that.
And I would hate to have it, like, it seems to happen occasionally, that we get brought in at the 11th hour and it's too
well,
late.
this
to
is
make
the
a-
school district, which is a separate entity than the city of Keizer. So, you know, Mike might be alerted that they're doing something, but maybe not.
But I kind of asked that question early on in relation to Cummings School, you know, how do we get on the list for notification when they're entering certain steps of the project and certain decision points and everything? And I don't know if we have that information for Cummings either, as we look at what is going to happen at that school, which also is a recurring issue with this committee, how it affects.
On that as a project.
Yeah.
Well, it's the school district, and the school district, my experience is it kind of operates totally independent of the cities, both cities. And,
It cooperates to a
well,
certain
they
extent.
cooperate
right,
to a
but-
certain extent, but if they forget about it, they don't feel any remorse.
Well, and I can tell you the process for Weddle and Claggett, because I was involved on a parent-teacher group there. And the city had its input, and the school district was going to do their own thing, and then the fire district came in, and the fire marshal said, no, we want a street through, and that went back and forth, and eventually got a street all the way through. But it was really the parent groups who kind of knew what the stages were, because the principal would come in and say, well, this is our next stage and stuff. I'm assuming that's the same with McNary. So the parent-teacher group probably would know more of what's coming up, probably even before Mike.
That would have been a council of or a function of the site council?
Right.
Sorry. That would have been a function of the site council many years ago, but we don't really have a site council
Right.
as such anymore. And so, you know, there's not really, I mean, aside from boosters, there's not really parent advisory groups at McNary.
See, that was a real advantage way back, was the site council.
Yeah.
And then the LSAC.
Yeah.
So I can't answer that question, how to plug in. My meeting next week, I can ask Michael Shields.
Ask, and I may ask too, because I guess I have, there was somebody that I talked to in relation to the Cummings issue, and of course, they haven't voluntarily gotten back to me to say, oh, it's time to submit your comments.
Well, I can talk to Michael, since we have a meeting on the 17th
Okay.
related to the safe routes to school position, and he's there, and we've had some good conversations, and I can at least talk.
And maybe I'm wrong, but I would think there's got to be a point of contact within the board or not the board, but the school district that's keeping track of
If-
overarching.
I can make kind of a suggestion, because coming from a consultancy side, and I don't know who the person is that you're talking to, Hirsch, but it sounds like they're the project manager. You want to find out who their admin assistant or who their assistant is in general.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are really kind of the mastermind behind it, that will make sure everyone gets contacted.
Well,
So,
Michael's just the contact on this project, on the safe routes to school. And I thought, well, we'll talk to him and find out who, especially with McNary, because we've gotten, as you've mentioned, a number of people that have come to this committee and testified about traffic flow.
So all the Salem Keizer School District, everybody's on the board at large?
Yes,
So we don't have a Keizer representative on the board?
right.
Chuck Lee is our Kaiser representative.
Okay,
But
that's, in all honesty, those people will get more done in 15 minutes than everybody in between there, because nobody, no superintendent wants to hear from a board member. Seriously, they don't ever want to hear from them.
Well,
So, I mean, if we could get him contact, if somebody, someone who knows him.
I
don't-
do.
Okay. I would at least broach that, because if he's behind you, he'll call and ask what's being done, and then something will get done.
Well, Pat knows him too,
Yeah,
but
either, that would be my suggestion. Because they actually are in charge of the school district and the bond issue and the whole thing.
yeah, so I may see Chuck on Sunday because we always have lunch,
There you go.
breakfast
That would be
at
great.
McNary, and we always see his wife and him, and
I have
I'm on speaking terms with him
Well, that's
very
good.
much, so.
I have another question for you, Hirsch, or anybody who happens to know. Are there any bike racks at the Keizer Little League Park baseball fields? Does anybody know?
I haven't,
Years ago, there were by the flagpole. I remember as a kid parking my bike.
Okay, well.
okay, they're new
Probably
ones.
would have,
Yes, you know.
they might have rusted and fallen apart by now.
They're probably the Nielsen style.
Okay, my reason for asking that was, the long-range, what's, it, Betty,
Park Long Range Planning Task Force,
there you go,
ALL, et cetera.
et cetera, okay. Has a meeting, I believe it's the 24th, Debbie? And I'm going to it for another reason. I think April 24th is the new date. I'm going to it for another reason, but I thought if we're interested, I could bring, this is long-range planning, so we're not asking them to spend money or do anything. Is that a reasonable thing to think that they should have bike racks at those, what is there, 7 baseball fields?
11.
11, whatever there is.
I would
And the reason is, there was a bunch of kids up there on bikes yesterday when I was up there. And if there are none, it seems that they could put that in their, if you would like, as a group, put that in their long-range plans.
Well, Volcano Stadium has bike racks, and they're decent ones. Our baseball, Little League, should have bike racks. It's a parking problem up there, and on a nice evening, families could ride the bikes
For
there.
the players and the spectators.
Well, is there anybody who, I'll go promote that, to have it put in their long-range plan, unless somebody on the committee doesn't want me to.
I
How's that?
encourage you to do that.
Yeah, the more.
And again, back
But
to
I want to go as a representing the committee. Do I need a motion for that, or can I just do it?
I got it.
Is everybody okay with that?
to me, the more we can work with the C-Tech Center, the better. That's the kids.
The tech part of the high school. I mean,
Oh, over there at the high school, okay, yeah.
Okay,
this is just for them to put it into their plan, to identify the space where it needs to be.
Well,
and where they
acknowledge
need
that
to-
there's a need.
Yeah.
That would be a first.
To extend your idea of checking Keizer Little League, I'm also on Parks Committee. I would recommend that we have Parks evaluate all of the parks for bike rack.
I think that would be a good
suitability.
idea. Do we know anybody on the park?
Yeah,
Oh,
Wayne,
maybe.
Okay, so I wrote it down, and I said Wayne to inventory parks for bike racks. Okay?
That would be fine.
that'd be good, yeah.
And I can also refer it to Parks Committee.
and then we have at least one boy that wants to do it as a Eagle Scout project.
An idea, anyway.
Yeah, at least, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, let's move on. Wayne, anything on the Safe Routes to School action plans or grant?
I don't have anything new there. I do have a little tiny bit about evaluating bike racks, just a form of how to evaluate bike racks. Nothing new on Safe Routes to School Action Plans or Safe Routes to Parks grant.
I saw in an email that they have those grant workshops. You can actually watch video.
Yes, there
so
are.
That'd be something if we.
There are webinars.
Yeah.
You can live stream?
I don't think it's live. I think they're
After?
recorded.
Oh,
Right.
after.
Yeah, but that's something that I don't know. Have you?
I have not reviewed those.
Okay. Would you like to, or did you want someone else to? I only ask you first because you have the grant part next to your name, so
I see that.
you've been selected.
Sure, put my name on that,
Okay.
and I will attend some of those seminars or workshops or whatever they are.
Watch them. Yeah. Okay.
The workshops are for how to do non-infrastructure programs, if I recall that email. I received it also. You can learn more. I'll attend a seminar.
Okay. Thank you. Well, the next will be Kathy, who's not present tonight. So we'll, unless she told anyone an update, we'll hop over to the additional bike repair station, Kathy and Joe.
Okay, and on that, this is specifically for Southeast Keizer because we had a discussion at our last meeting, and there is definitely interest in having it, possibly having one at either Claggett or Weddle if there's a way we can get the school district to agree with it, and Ken Gerloff believes he can get the principal's ear to help that happen. And he also mentioned Ben Miller Park, which I'm thinking if it's there, then we don't need it to school, or either, one or the other, not right next to each other, basically. So we have the interest, and the places that I had previously suggested, they definitely did not agree with, so.
Oh, did anybody suggest, what's the name of that little convenience store up on Sherry? On the east side of the road? It's like a 7-Eleven.
I know.
I don't know the
what
name
it's
of it.
called, but I know where you're talking.
You know what I'm talking about?
Kind of.
I've seen more bikes there than anywhere else but haven't been in
Well,
school.
there's a whole bunch of apartments nearby
Well, I'm
there.
just saying, I see more bicycles there, but then I don't drive by the school anyway, but I'm sure there's more at the school, but the schools are deserted at 4:15. So they probably have the least security you're gonna find for the bike rack
I think it's
in the
US
region.
market.
Well, I know the middle school's like scary at night. So anyway, what I was thinking is, that store's open, and I just wondered if anybody broached the thought that they might be more interested in kind of paying attention to it, because the school's not.
Well, whether you put it
I
on
don't know.
public property or private property.
Oh,
that'll
that's
be a big
another issue
distinction.
then.
Yeah.
I just wondered if anybody, that's just my thought.
The biggest issue with the bike racks in the
The fix-it
municipal
station,
area is vandalism and theft. and
Well, that's what I was
damage.
thinking, that store is open.
And we've been pretty lucky, and I don't think the broken cap, yeah, I saw that, but I don't think that was vandalism. I just think that was overuse, which is good, The city of Salem, the one down on the riverfront, has had theft, damage to it. They've been able to repair it, but it's been a more ongoing. We've been lucky where ours is placed. If we do another one, I think we have to be really careful on where we place it and where there is some level of security. Otherwise, how much was that part?
$35, I think, and it was the wrong part. Shipped it, we kept it, and he shipped us back a 2-part deal. We tried to switch, there was something new and improved,
Yeah.
but it wouldn't work with the setup that we have. So he said, oh, apologize for that, and then sent us 2 things back, and we replaced the valve, or the stem part that was messed up, and then the hose that goes into the
So,
station.
well,
That's good.
those parts, are not cheap for replacement, so
But
Now, we do have two in Keizer. One at the Transit Center,
right.
which is in a place that the average Joe doesn't know it's there per se, but we have tried to do some advertisings. But would love to get one that we could feel somewhat confident in Southeast.
Do the schools have, the school probably has surveillance cameras though, right?
I have no idea.
Not outside.
Not for outside?
Well, neither school,
They might
both schools are a destination. They're not something you're gonna accidentally drive by. I mean, like Cherry or River Road or Verda, where cars are going by all the time, but
Actually, there are.
Which
It is,
one?
a-
Really?
that people use it as a through street between Cherry and,
Oh, yeah.
was it Hyacinth or Verda,
Yeah.
whatever's up
Yeah,
there.
Alder goes, that's how you get on the,
yeah.
go to Portland.
Okay, well,
And we should all
So,
keep in
so,
the
but
back
you,
of our
so you do
mind.
have a lead to pursue a little bit more the idea of potential,
Right, that's-
potential location at one of those two schools?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
or the park.
yes.
And I want to,
Is
for
that,
funding for these kind of things, REI, our local REIs changed their attitude about helping the community. They're wanting to. So something like that's not big, might take them a little bit of paperwork to go through, but they might be a source.
I was gonna ask, and I was hoping Kathy would be here if she would know, because the one, the repair station that was at the Salem Downtown Transit Center is gone. And so if it's floating around waiting for a home, it might be a little
That's
easier.
a good
to find.
idea.
another question. So the park you mentioned, is that the one that's at, kind of close to the intersection of Brooks and Alder?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, it's right.
Because if we think about that route as being on our future, sort of east side bikeway, that
Right.
would be a good location for north-south travel and commuting and so forth.
Okay. So moving on would be the NACTO discussion, which Kathy, Joe, and I are supposed to work on. Was not able to schedule something. That's on me for this past month to talk to Kathy and Joe. We will soon. I just need to.
I did talk to Gary O'Barry about it a little bit, and NACTO is not a, what's the word I'm looking for? It is not a standards document such as the AASHTO documents or MUTCD. It is a, what do you call it? An add-on type of document, so we could have or ask for the city to endorse it. And in fact, that was one of the things I was surprised, it's, of course, Portland and San Francisco are obvious ones that have endorsed it, but I was, anyway, surprised to find out that Phoenix and Salt Lake City and several other cities that I simply was, I did not know that they would have endorsed it, and they have. And so that's just something we can ask the city to endorse, and that means that any time it does go to a contractor, they at least know that they should be looking at that document as well as the AASHTO document. Supplementary was the word I was looking for.
Oh,
So who needs to recommend the endorsement of that document to this?
That would be us as
Do
a
we
committee. yeah.
recommend it to Mike, Public Works?
I think you probably need to make a
It needs-
motion, and it needs to be in the minutes, and then you need to have somebody, probably the chair of the committee, come and report it, and give a report, and let the council know, so
Right.
that they can direct staff.
Okay.
And I'm willing to do that, but I just don't know what you're talking about. I mean, I kind of, well, no, I vaguely understand, but I really would like, are you familiar with it? Are you familiar
Yeah,
with it?
we're both.
Could one of you put together a 5-minute summary of how it's different from what we're doing?
Right. And
And
that's.
then I'm willing to vote for it, as
Yeah.
long as I agree with you.
And that's,
I mean-
yeah. How much do you need?
Well,
But that's something that, yeah, Joe and Kathy and I need to get together and just do a quick, create a quick presentation just to bring to the committee.
to us, and then that's
yeah.
a good practice, because then you can turn around and give it to the city
Exactly,
council.
yeah. So
If
that's,
if we decide to go forward with it.
right, and so there'll be no motion tonight, but we will get the presentation ready for you.
okay.
5-minute limit.
The executive summary. huh?
Yes,
Oh, come on, Barr could do it.
The 4-page summary.
He could do a 400-page summary and,
Okay.
Want it redacted.
don't say that. I'm sorry.
So moving along, we have the, David's got the parking bike lane on Ridge Road at the park.
What,
Little League
the
Park.
KLL planning, long-range planning committee meets the 24th, next week, I guess. Next week. And I'm going to, at that time, I'll go to them and present the same thing I presented to Bill Lawyer about the need for their consideration for the Ridge Road and their parking lots. They need to take what they're going to do about that. And then I'll add what we talked about, the bicycle parking. I had one other, but it really, I don't know if it fits this. I was concerned, I know what they do, but I was concerned about there's no formality to it. If I wanted to take my, or if I wanted to go down there, and if I get any more crippled than I haven't got any way to get down there. I got to park in a crappy parking lot. My wheelchair and walker don't work in it, and there's no paths down, no cement paths or
Oh, so there's no
there's no ADA
handicap
access to any
the
of those
fields, huh?
fields.
Huh.
And I don't know, that's another one, I'm just gonna bring that up, but I'll bring it up as a citizen, because I'm getting closer and closer to a walker. And that, what there's, when I talked to one person, they said, well, it's really easy, we just open the gate and you drive your car down next to the field you want. That works unless you, if that's your operating procedures.
Yeah.
What happens if 20 people show up someday or something? I mean, I don't think that's a,
How do they use the
Plan-
rest
not
of
a
the
plan
site if they
thing.
want to, if they need snacks or facilities or
just think they
whatever?
should take it into account with their planning. That's
Yeah.
all. Let's bring it up to them.
That they are in fact required to.
Well, I talked, Mike,
I don't know.
if they're required to or not. I thought they were, but
The city-owned property?
yes, city parks,
I would think they would.
Oh, well, I would think they would have to.
one would think.
We did take the dump truck up there 2 weeks ago and filled along the edge of the roadway there in front of the parking lot. I don't know if you knew that, but we took, it was about a load, and then we compacted it and wheel rolled it in, and it did a lot. It's a lot better than it was. That abrupt edge is gone, and so, and that's the fix for now, and it looks pretty
It'll
good.
last till next year. Yeah. Gravel
So
always
that-
moves. Well, that's
Is
a
that
temporary.
a question then for staff to check the ADA responsive,
So if
Obligations
you want
at
to
that
read any
site?
of the minutes for the Keizer Little League Long Range Planning Task Force, they're all on the website. They have not, on their agenda, they have future projects. They've talked about a little bit, but they haven't gotten to that yet. That is part of what they're working towards. They are supposed to bring, the two organizations are supposed to bring a wish list. There's been some discussion about access, quite a bit of discussion about access. So it's not something that they are not thinking about. To start with, they are trying, there's two organizations that use that field, and their programs are quite different. Their concept of who plays and that sort of thing. And so it's kind of like East is East and West is West, and they've had a lot of difficulties, but they are working together now, and they are trying to come up with a plan where they have, each of them has a representative on a parent organization that will be responsible for the maintenance of the fields and keeping the ADA access, doing all that stuff that, these are baseball players. They're, and they have a unique agreement with the city. Yes, it is city property, but it's only city property because Keizer Little League was not allowed to buy the property. And so the city had to save it, and then Keizer Little League took it over. And until their concept of who played changed, it worked fine, but that's been several years going through and several years of mending, but it is much better now, and there is hope, but it's not going to be an overnight change. It's going to take some time.
Okay. But I don't see it as a bad thing to bring it up
No,
again.
just bring it up in a very, it's a long-range planning process.
Yeah. Okay, next,
Oh, excuse me, and I talked to Bill. Well, that's why that part got up
right,
there.
yeah. And thank you for that. Joe, do you have anything for the Bike Ped Infrastructure Code Policy Review?
No, I actually put it on my calendar this time, so I might remember for next time.
Okay, oh, good. Hirsch, bike-friendly businesses.
As I reported last month, 3 hotels joined. It sounds like Easy Orchard's in the process. Something kind of related to it, which started out as a catastrophe, but sounding really good now, is Iris Festival. They are going to, this committee will be, it's being recommended that this committee from now on will be part of, because of the scenic bikeway and whatever. They're going to be, I'll be working with them this year, but somebody else from the committee for next year, to do an alternate route, mark it appropriately, and through the Salem Bicycle Club, be able to borrow our bike racks. So it's kind of bike-friendly for the chamber. It's kind of a big step for them, so. And I know there was some confusion at the Southeast Keizer Neighborhood Association last week, I guess. There were some statements made that caused a lot of ruckus, including some anger on my part. But in talking with the mayor, I think things are resolved. And it looks good for cyclists, both our commuters and recreational cyclists, as well as people traveling on the scenic bikeway. And so I kind of consider that as a bike-friendly activity for this month.
Just a question, clarification on that. Salem Bicycle Club will be providing bike racks at Iris Festival? Is that?
We just have an old rack that the city used when they were building the Big Toy. It's an old one.
Thank you. And I just kind of to piggyback on that, I talked to Danielle Bethel today about a lot of Hirsch's concerns, and honestly, best intentions, and they've been trying to do. They're working with so many different organizations, regulatory organizations, and so forth, that sometimes there is confusion, and they really do intend to, they want to provide a safe and convenient environment for all of our citizens. And so, so kind of going along with what Hirsch is saying, that is improving.
And for next year, the mayor mentioned, but the council will probably be talking about on Monday, that not only Public Works and the police, but this committee, from the bike standpoint, will at least have a representative that can help them each year, so.
Wayne, did you have another thing to say about that, or?
No, that was just,
Okay.
Because all these things I suggested last year and they didn't do. And I guess they listened and started doing it this year, but not coming back and
So,
asking.
how many bikes is that temporary rack hold?
Maybe 10.
Does the company that does the rides, do they ever include that in their?
I can't answer that one.
Years ago, this committee had a bike corral there. Is that not an option?
It was during the day, yeah. We ran it
Yep.
actually 3 years in a row, 2 years in a row. It's my experience is it wasn't worth the effort for 4 bikes. I mean, that was all day long.
Well, I know the art festival does that. And in fact, is they do it with the I think South Salem High School, one of the groups there.
Band or something.
Yeah, but, we have this old metal rack that we really don't use for the Monster Cookie anymore, and it's in our locker, and we used it for the Big Toy, and we, put a little sign on it, Salem Bike Club, park here, and
Yeah.
it's an old metal triangular kind of thing. So it's not a big issue.
Okay. Well, thank you. And it looks like we've completed the maps, so I don't think we need to say anything more about that. So let's move on
Mayor was
to
gonna talk.
committee member input. We'll start with you, Joe.
Nothing today.
David?
I think I've said everything.
Yeah. Pat?
Yeah, I was going to comment on the traffic circulation at McNary High School and on the bike parking assessment tool, and so those have already been discussed.
I had a couple of things I wanted to bring up. I don't know, I think it's the IIHS. They just did a study, and they were looking primarily at highway speeds, but just at it's obvious the higher speeds we have, the more deaths we have on roads. And so it's something to look at both within our cities and on the highways. And another thing I noticed, and Mike, maybe you can speak to this, at the intersection with Thorman and Dearborn, are they putting sidewalk there? Is that, because it looks like it goes down into Thorman a ways, I don't know, maybe 20 feet. At least
I'm not sure of anything, Dearborn and Thorman, so oh, right there in the corner where they're building that house right there. I'm sorry, I was farther down. Thorman, and it took me a second to get where you're at. Yeah, there's sidewalks going down for the improvements. For that home that's being built, it's required that they have on-site detention and then also sidewalks down that side. Right now, it looks like the stop sign's been graded around and part of the sidewalk, but the stop sign will be moved to the side. Everyone goes by and says, why is the stop sign in the sidewalk? It'll be moved.
well, and not seeing the design, but from what I can tell, it looks like where the curb will be. Thorman's kind of a wide street. Was there ever any discussion about putting a bulb out there when the design was made, just to?
I wasn't part of that design part of, it's not something that I am a part of, but I'll say no, it wasn't. And as far as that ADA ramp that's on that corner, there was already a ramp there, and I think they just took a little part of the wing out, and they're just putting that back, so it's going to be back existing what was there, and then just wrap around with the sidewalk. So,
Okay.
as far as the bulb out, no.
And one other thing that maybe you could speak of, I noticed on Clark, because I go on Clark to get to work and to come home off of Dearborn, the pavement is really, and wasn't that a recent repave? I thought it was.
No, not on Clark. No. It was on a list a few years back, and then we held off 1 year and saved some money to be able to pay River Road. And because we're doing River Road this summer, and then we're doing the second phase next summer, the following summer we might have some extra money left over to go back to doing some residential streets. So that's what happens when we do some of our major arterials. The neighborhoods kind of suffer. So that's where we're at right now, is we're getting the major arterials up to par, and then we'll go back into the neighborhoods. And that one is one of the ones on the list.
Okay. What's is River Road, the entire stretch getting redone, or?
This summer, it'll be from Plymouth to about Rose Park Apartments, so just shy of Waremart Winco. That's phase one. And then the following summer, it'll go from, I'll basically say, where we left off right there, just there at Waremart, and then it'll go north over the hill to the B&S Market. And just north a little bit more on River Road to the match line. And we had paved both River Road and Wheatland Road within the last 6 years, I think, so we'll be tying back into that. And as part of that project, we'll upgrade the ADA ramps as we work our way north, so.
Okay, thank you. All right, Wayne, and you look like you have something.
Well, I've been thinking about biking, and I'm trying to promote a bike ride. It's called 3 Parks, 2 Bridges, 1 Cause, to raise money for children, Kiwanis Dornbecker Children's Cancer Program.
That up so the camera can see it.
Wherever the camera is.
I just go straight.
Well, I guess I can't really read it.
Okay, so the ride is 8 miles or 15 miles, all on paved park trails. We'll go into 3 parks. Riverfront Park, Wallace Marine Park, and Mento Brown Island Park. And it's a fundraiser for Dornbecker. I have some of these posters if anyone would like a poster in their building or in their church or organization, wherever.
Put one at Scott's.
I did.
Okay, good.
There's already a poster at all 4 bike shops in town and a few other places. If you want to be a rider, it's $25. If you want to be a rider plus one, it's $40 entry fee. If you want to bring your whole family, it's $65. Or you could be a ghost rider. You just sign up as a ghost rider. You collect some donations and you mail them into the Children Cancer Program treasurer. So that's what I've been spending a lot of my time on, is promoting this ride.
Okay, yeah, I would definitely like a sign.
Father's Day, June 16th, 1:30 to 5:30. Mark your calendars.
Okay, thank you. Hirsch?
I got a bunch of stuff. And since Wayne started promoting rides, the Monster Cookie is April 28th, and this is a Northwest tradition. It's the 43rd year of the Monster Cookie. Our Keizer's Finest will be right on board. I've been working with Officer Leday to help on that, as well as Mike. Mike, are we okay on,
Yeah, we'll make sure the roads are clean and safe to ride.
in that section by the
Yep,
transit
by
center?
Keizer Station Boulevard. Yeah, been talking with Matt, who's the project manager of that, and everything will be out of the way to the best that it can be, and it'll be safe for the riders to go through, so.
We're thinking at this point in time about 1,000 cyclists. So, again, Keizer has been involved with this project ride for going on centuries now, so we love it. The other thing about the ride is $1 per rider goes into our foundation that's available to help promote bicycle safety and cycling in the communities. And in the past, money has come to this committee for helmets. There's possibility of monies for bike racks, things like that. So the more riders, the more money is available for our communities. Also, I've been kind of alluded that I've been working with the Safe Routes to School soft non-infrastructure in getting a position within the school district. We've been doing meetings on that, and it looks like it's a go, and I'm quite excited. It's one of the things I've always felt was needed is once you have a true position within the school district, not so much that they're going to do the instruction, but being able to pull in the resources, look at bike racks, have instructors come in and do those kind of things. It's David and I have tried to go to schools and do a class here and there, and it just doesn't, unless you have the badge, it's hard to do. So this is really, really good. Speaking of bike skills things, we have scheduled on May 29th from 5:30 to 7 o'clock, a bicycle skills rodeo at Adam Stevens. This is the first time I have done, well, shouldn't say first, but it's been a long time since I've done a middle school. It's always been elementaries and stuff, so that's going to be May 29th. That's Salem Bicycle Club is going to be involved, but we do have some kids from Adam Stevens that do come to McNary, so if there's anybody that would like to help at that event, let me know. Also, June 7th, we're doing a bike skills fair at Harrod Elementary.
Which one?
Harrod Elementary in West Salem. And again, it'll be a kind of a community event. To give Harrod teachers a plug, they are actually going to be helping at the Monster Cookie. So, because they want some cookies, I think. I think that's it, except for I went ahead and did the paperwork for the police department for the 5K foot pursuit Saturday, July 27th, so we can have a booth at that to promote the committee and safety.
I forgot something. I have more of a question. The church that's at the traffic circle, is it, I didn't even write the
Can't
name down.
remember the name of it.
I can't find anybody who either goes to it, their phone, no one ever, their voicemail's been full forever that I've tried, like the last 30 days. There's never a car there, and I've been busy both Sundays. Does anybody know anybody who attends that church?
I don't.
I mean, I'm just trying to find a name or a phone number that would be answered.
I don't.
And the reason was, it had to do with the sidewalk along Keizer Road. We need a right of easement on their property, which, in my mind, they should be happy because it's not gonna cost them anything. But I can't find anybody. And everybody I've talked to goes, never seen a car there.
You might need to write them a letter.
I might as well post a sign on the door.
Well, but I would
That
think.
too?
Do they have an
well,
online presence? Have you checked into that?
Yes, I have. No. I mean, they have a name,
No luck.
they have a church name and a phone number, but that's it. No, they don't have a site.
Not like a meeting time?
It's kind of odd.
Sunday, maybe?
But,
You might
but I
find
know they
something.
put a new, I miss Sundays. I guess I'm gonna have to go up there at 8 o'clock in the morning Sunday and just sit and wait.
Yeah.
They did somebody put a new sign out front in the last 3 weeks, so. I just wondered if anybody knew.
No.
One thing that I did forget on the bike friendly, the City of Independence and the City of Monmouth are having an event to promote bike friendly with their businesses. And I believe it's April 25th. It's going to be at the Western Oregon in one of the centers. I just got a kind of an email on it, but not with a lot of details. But if anybody's interested, let me know. Till the Monster Cookie is over with, I'm not busy.
Okay, well, thank you, Hirsch.
You know what I learned? Promoting a ride, and like the Monster Cookie and my ride, takes a lot of work.
Okay, I guess we'll move to Mike with the staff report.
Okay, in Public Works, we've been keeping an eye on the river level here the last few days. It's supposed to crest tomorrow morning and then start receding. Today, we ran some of our storm pumps at the end of Cummings just to give it a good test run and make sure we're prepared if need be, and everything's good, so just like to report on that. Second piece I have is coming up here when the weather gets a little better for us. At the intersection of Trail and Harmony, we're going to be moving the signage and the stop bars forward. And what that will do is cars on Trail that are headed southbound, turning eastbound onto Harmony, have a tendency to cut that corner. And I think, Mike, you know what I'm talking about there. So if you're traveling westbound on Harmony, you kind of get a scare as that car cuts the corner. So by moving that stop bar forward, it's going to improve that intersection. So got a hold of our striping company and pavement marking company, and as soon as the weather gets better, like I said, we'll move those forward. So it'll improve that. And you had mentioned the bushes there on the bike lane, and I don't know if you ever contacted our code enforcement about having those people got a letter, or I'm not sure where you're at with that.
Well, you know, it's been okay. I think now that the city's been doing a lot more street sweeping,
Oh.
it doesn't seem to be a problem this year like
Okay.
it had been in the past.
I'd meant to follow up with you on that, and then I hadn't, so
Yeah.
I wanted to ask. So if it's okay, then we'll
Yeah.
let it go. Okay.
Thank you.
And I had a couple other things, but Hirsch mentioned the Monster Cookie, and we're all good. So that's all I got. Thank you.
The whole cycling community thanks you for helping, because we get a lot of, last year, the comments that we got, especially about the streets in Keizer. One lady from Seattle said you could tell where Salem and Keizer started just by the street. we were so clean. And we did leave a box of cookies at Lauren's.
I was just gonna say, give Lauren Sanitation the kudos, because they do an awesome job for us, so, yeah.
Okay. Police report?
Nothing to report on the police, I'm just here for questions tonight.
Good. And it's a complaint, I guess, not to you, but am I correct in that when you come up to a stop sign and there's a white painted stripe in the road, you're supposed to stop behind it? Because normally, in my recall of looking around the town, the white stripe is painted so that you don't run into the sidewalk area. So the sidewalks are normally, you're supposed to stop before you get, if somebody was walking across the street, would hit. My problem is, I don't know, I'm gonna get a huge number of people don't stop there. They, on River Road, it scares me, but they pull up and they go over that white line right up, but they don't go in the street. I'm not gonna hit them, but they stopped, what, 8, 9 feet too late? Is that illegal, or is it just a?
By statute, you're supposed to, if the stop bar is present, you stop at the stop bar, or if there's not one present, prior to the stop sign itself.
Okay,
What you'll see in most cases, though, we have numerous areas where if you stop behind the stop bar, you look to your left, look to your right, you're not gonna see approaching traffic, so
Oh,
vehicles will continue to.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that. It's when you don't, if you skip that intermediate step, I always feel like it's hard to judge if they're gonna pull out in front of me or not. Now,
Splitting hairs, yes, they need to
yeah, okay,
stop.
my thought was, isn't that really an educating the driver issue? Do people know that it's wrong and do it anyway, or do they just not paying attention to it?
Honestly, I think it's kind of like doing 28 and a 25 or 58 and a 55. They know the rules, but they kind of push the limits slightly. They're still coming to a stop, just not.
Now, don't get me wrong, I don't want you to run out and give all these Mickey Mouse little tickets for stuff, but it is, I see it as a problem I've seen people in front of me jerk into the left lane because it looked like somebody was pulling out.
What I can say is almost 27 years with the city here.
No,
conservation
nothing?
and Traffic enforcement related. We have very few crashes of the stop line being the issue.
Okay,
If there is a crash, it's usually because the person just didn't stop.
okay, I'll just relax then.
Primary cause.
I'll just settle down.
For our next meeting, I'd like to know a little more details about the injury accidents that we've had recently. Specifically, the serious one we had on River Road earlier in the year, because we got no feedback because there was an investigation going on, and about the pedestrian that was hurt at Safeway recently.
Yeah.
Safeway.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're talking about the one.
Yeah.
Well, again, I don't know if it would be appropriate to speak about some of these cases in an open forum, but if you have any questions.
No,
Yeah.
there's no hurry.
No, and I said next meeting or whatever you can redact. But just, it's a pedestrian that was injured. Maybe there's something that the committee might want to look at.
We're talking about the one that was technically on the Shamawa side. You're talking
Yeah.
about between Safeway and Sherry's there.
Yeah,
Yeah, that wasn't an injury crash. That was actually a fatality.
yeah,
So it took about 2.5 weeks. However, what would normally be something fairly simple, when we deal with somebody elderly, it can become more critical, so to say.
but
A lot of things that we can't do that are just driver errors.
well, it's nice for us to know about these injury accidents in the detail that could be provided.
I'll see what I can do.
And realizing that when it happens, you have to wait till the investigation details before you could even report anything. So that's why I didn't bring it up any sooner, but,
I'll have to check with our records division, because normally in order to get information on some of those, you actually have to file, to get a copy of the report itself. There's a lot of civil litigations that go on
Yeah.
well beyond our investigation. So as far as the release of information in a public forum, I have
What
to
it-
check a little bit deeper as far as what we can release.
But with our focus on looking at especially safety on River Road, because that's where we have our deaths in Keizer over the years.
And Rex.
The primary cause?
Yeah.
I can tell you the primary cause of it.
Now, those are the kind of things that would be nice to hear, what you guys have determined the cause without, I was a state risk manager, so I know liability and stuff. But this, I think it's important that the committee at least know the basics that are going on.
But I can't tell you about both our fatalities. Primary cause was driver error. They did not obey one of our statutes.
Okay.
What, and this, I brought it up, but I don't think you were here then, but the thing I brought up, so it's one little thing. I'm really concerned about the age of the people involved in accidents.
Yeah, these young people.
But yeah, these young people, right. I'm concerned about, like, age ranges. I'm really concerned about people, say, 60 and over.
Could you raise that a little higher?
Anyway, that was, and I don't know, I don't want to jump to conclusions, but if you could look,
That's an area that I honestly won't, when we stop talking about classes, ages class, I can give you, I can give you statistics as far as a release of information, but I can't comment on those types of
okay, no, I'm not interested in it. I was just like, are older people more apt to get in an accident on River Road than younger people? That's really what I want to know, because that's something we can either ignore or deal with. But, because I think there's a problem, but I don't have any evidence to back up my prejudices. How's that?
They have insurance foundations that do a lot of studies, and that might be
Okay.
something that you would look at,
Well-
formulate your own opinion on, but I don't think I can comment on this.
I know. No, I just wondered if that was something that was available, like the age of the people involved in.
You can definitely find those stats with some of those organizations.
Statewide and nationwide, I know, but I just wondered if it was worth knowing locally.
Probably at the state level.
That's okay. I mean, if you don't have it, that's
Yeah, nothing easily.
fine. Okay.
I would second what Hirsch was saying about any information that you can share, so we can use it as a guide to changing either design or behavior or something.
So one fatal, failed to yield to a pedestrian in a crosswalk. Another fatal, failed to stop and remain stopped before entering a roadway, crossing into a roadway from a parking lot. Very avoidable by driver error.
Right.
It's that kind of information, I think it's
My
important for us,
apologies.
that we would like to know about, because you read it in the Keizer Times, and we have to look at it on this committee in a little different way. We need to know that it was driver error, but is there, and we can look at, okay, what might have caused that driver error? Is there anything we as a committee might?
I mean, the example at, down there by the light by Bimart, and where the Goodwill was, where that one was determined, I think, that a lot of the close calls with pedestrians crossing River Road there were occurring when the sun was at a low angle facing the driver entering River Road, and so I think you changed the timing of the, gave the pedestrian a little more head start across the road. So there might be situations like that where there's a physical fix that can be done to lower the chances of something happening again. Probably both of the ones that you just cited are, unpredictable occurrences, I guess, right?
It helps the committee look at things, I think.
Yeah.
So, and I'll look and see what information that I can provide and what I can't, as far as even by city
We
policy.
love juicy stuff, but,
That's all fine.
So, and some things may be, more appropriate behind closed doors as far as information instead of public sharing too.
okay.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay, well, thank you. Council?
I am just here for the visit and
and
happy
the cookies.
to be part of this again. And so I don't have anything, Dan didn't share anything with me that he wanted specifically shared. So thank you for hosting me.
Well, thank you for being here.
I do want to say something. The counselor helped in this resolution for the Iris Festival, where it's turned out positive, so I thank her for that.
Thank you. Okay, well, it looks like we've reached the end of our meeting, so I will adjourn it,
Another productive evening.
and we will see each other again on May 9th.